My best friend and I had been inseparable since grade school, yet I harbored a secret from him, one that I kept hidden from everyone, really. Since childhood, I had been slipping into my sister's clothes. It had only happened twice that I had been caught while dressed up, once by my mom and once by my sister. Each time they scolded me, and I quickly changed back into my usual attire. Now, at 17, I understood the societal norms that boys were not supposed to dress as girls, and if they did, they certainly weren't supposed to enjoy it. But I did enjoy it, and yes, I still indulge in dressing up from time to time. I share this so you can grasp what unfolded next. With everyone away, June was off at college. I seized the opportunity to go all out. I mean all out. I shaved every inch of hair from my body and dressed as a girl from head to toe. My hair was long enough that I could use a blow dryer to style it into a somewhat feminine, albeit messy, look. I adorned myself with fake red nails and slipped into one of June's short dresses. When I caught my reflection in the mirror, I felt like I was in paradise. I couldn't quite explain why I felt the urge to dress as a girl. It was simply something I had to do, and this was one of those rare moments I could fully embrace it. I admired my long, silky, smooth legs, the alluring smile accentuated by bright red lipstick, and how the heels accentuated my rear. Lost in my daydream, I didn't hear the door open, but I certainly heard what came next. Holy cow. Vincent? Is that you? Why are you dressed like a girl? Wow, you look pretty good. It was my best friend Dave, and he had walked in on me in all my glory. We had been barging into each other's rooms since we first met in school, and he knew exactly where the spare key was hidden. I hadn't answered his knock, so he let himself in, just like always, and there I was, fully dressed up. I had nowhere to hide, no escape, and no hole to disappear into. We locked eyes for a moment, and I had never felt so humiliated in my life, but there was nothing I could do. He knew me well enough to realize I wasn't being initiated into any group, nor was I being punished. The only explanation left was that I wanted to dress this way. I opened my mouth to speak, but he beat me to it. You know, with a little help, you could be one hot chick. Dave was grinning widely. What? You heard me, Vincent, or should I say Vivien. You'd look really good if someone who knew what they were doing helped you out. I mean, just look at your hair. Get out of here and let me change. No way, buddy. We both have a situation here, and I just found a solution, and we'll both get what we want. I sank into the chair at my desk, staring at Dave. I knew exactly where he was going with this. In a couple of months, he was set to join a fraternal organization and be introduced at their local ball, which meant he needed a date. But Dave was never one for dating. Girls seemed to intimidate him, and strangely, so did his mother, a petite woman barely 5 feet tall and weighing no more than 100 pounds. Dave, on the other hand, was tall and muscular, with dark brown hair, quick brown eyes, and an impish grin, the embodiment of many girls' dreams. Yet, he was always shy around them, never dating anyone more than twice. As for me, I was a stark contrast. 5'6", at most skinny, with blonde hair and blue eyes. People often wondered how we became best friends, but our long history together explained it all. I knew what he was about to propose, but I asked anyway. And what exactly are you suggesting? Why not be my date for the ball? You know how I am around girls. This way, you get to go out all dressed up, and I get a date I've known forever. I briefly considered denying my love for dressing up, but Dave clearly knew better. If it were just a joke, I wouldn't have done my nails, shaved my body, or attempted a hairstyle. I couldn't come up with any excuse to get out of this situation. I had only one choice. Even if I agreed to something this crazy, what would I tell my parents? I can just imagine it. Mom, Dad, Dave asked me to be his date for the big ball, and I need a new gown, my nails and hair done, and oh, don't forget, new shoes. My dad would be shocked, and my mom would laugh herself to the floor. Yeah, maybe if you put it that way. But if you told them it was for my induction, they might understand. Didn't your dad say he had to dress as a girl for 3 weeks when he joined his fraternity? He'd get it. What do you say? Want to be my date? Dave had read the situation perfectly and found a way for me to go out dressed up while solving his problem. Throughout it all, he looked relaxed and even smiled at me, showing no sign of disapproval or judgment. It was an intriguing plan, and as crazy as it sounded, it might actually work. I told him I would think about it, and then asked him to leave so I could change. Dave had disrupted my plans. I had intended to stay dressed all day, but I just couldn't with him there. It took me about an hour to return to my usual self. Going out as Dave's date sounded simple enough, and looking like a girl might not be too hard, but it was all the other details, mannerisms, voice, things that could give me away in an instant if I messed up. It would require immense concentration, and I was torn between my desire to leave the house dressed as a girl, even just once, and the fear of getting caught. I can imagine the consequences for me, but for Dave, they would crucify him. And then there was the matter of telling my parents. The inevitable question would be, how did Dave know I liked to dress as a girl? Dave and I spent the rest of the day together, and mercifully, he only brought up the topic once. We were at the mall, walking past a dress shop, when he pointed to a dress in the window and commented that I would look great in it. He might have been right, but I wasn't in the mood to discuss it. That night, my folks returned home, assumed everything was fine, and we all went to bed. The next day after school, however, my life took an unexpected turn. "Vincent, can I have a word with you?" my mom asked. "Sure, Mom, what's up?" David's mother called me today and asked me something quite unusual. She wanted to know if it was true that you were going to be David's date for the induction ball. "Is it?" "What?" I stalled, trying to gather my thoughts. My mom gave me that sharp, knowing look. With a sigh, I admitted that Dave thought I would make a nice date if I dressed as a girl, and he had asked me to be his plus one. I didn't reveal that Dave had seen me dressed up. I wasn't ready to admit that I still enjoyed doing it. I thought Mom was unaware of my secret. I told her that Dave had mentioned Dad's story about his 3 weeks dressed as a girl and figured I could pull it off too. "Well, given all the practice you've had, I suppose it's possible," she said with a thoughtful expression. "What did you tell David?" I said he was crazy. "Maybe he isn't. Did he see you the other day when you were dressed up?" How does she always know? I neither confirmed nor denied her question, but my silence was likely telling. "You have 2 more days of school before spring break. Why don't you and I spend some of those 2 weeks seeing how you look as a girl? I'll help you, and if you decide to tell David no afterward, we'll stop. But if we do stop, I want you to quit dressing up. If you say yes, I'll continue to help you. You're probably just as pretty as June, maybe even more so. Think about it and let me know tomorrow." Dave and his big mouth had really put me in a tight spot, but I couldn't be mad at him. Ever since Mom made her proposal, it was all I could think about. Having her help me would be amazing, and of course, Dad wouldn't have much to say about it, given his own experiences. It was a no-brainer. I was definitely going to say yes. I think Mom knew it too, and she confirmed it on my last day of school when she told me to come straight home. Since classes ended at 10, she and I would have all day. I didn't mention any of this to Dave, just in case it all went south quickly, or I ended up looking as bad as I usually did. I walked in the door and saw Mom waiting for me. She led me to my room, where, for the first time since I was a kid, she had me undress in front of her. I got down to my briefs and stopped, but it was clear to her that my skin was clean-shaven, smooth, and hairless. "Go take a shower, shave, and wash your hair, then put these on and come to my room," she instructed. I did as Mom told me, making sure to touch up the few spots I had missed the other day, like under my arms. My face was smooth, my skin squeaky clean, and my hair limped from the lotion. I pulled on the panties, noticing they were new, wrapped the robe around myself, and went to Mom's room. She was waiting with her roller kit and several brushes nearby. I sat down as she motioned, and she began to put my hair in rollers, using a gel to make them tight on my head. It didn't take her long, and then she waved her hand at the cosmetics on the counter. I looked at her for a moment, then went to my own room and got my own foundation. Mom and June both used a shade that was too light for me. Mom didn't say a word until I began to apply it to my face. Just dab it on, then use 2 fingers to blend it out evenly. You're not painting a house and thickness works against you. Just make it light, enough to cover your face, she guided. I followed her instructions and even mentioned that I had tried this before, but she insisted on showing me her way. Then she had me do something new. She handed me a puff full of some kind of powder and told me to pat it on wherever I had used foundation. After a few minutes, I brushed away the excess, and my skin seemed to be all one color, with no sign of my light beard. After that, she showed me how to do eyeshadow. I thought I knew how, but Mom's method was easier and made my eyes look 10 times better. She applied black eyeliner, then a black pencil to outline under my eyes, followed by peach blusher and mascara. With the rollers still in my hair, she watched as I put on the bra she had laid out on the bed, then the pantyhose. She had a slip in her hand, but I stopped her, went to my room, and retrieved my foam pads and birdseed breast forms. I slipped the breast forms into the bra, then used the foam pads to make my hips rounder. She watched as I slipped them under the panties, then I pulled the slip over my head and adjusted it. After that, Mom surprised me by handing me the same short dress I had been wearing when Dave caught me. I slipped it on, and Mom zipped it up. I stepped into the shoes I had brought with me when I got the pads, my only pair. I looked in the mirror and saw a girl with a head full of rollers. It was like looking at a more polished version of myself. The rough edges had been smoothed out. I didn't have long to admire the reflection as Mom sat me down at the vanity and began to remove the rollers, brushing my hair out. With just a few strokes, she created a very feminine hairstyle that was curly yet full. My bangs touched my eyebrows, and my ears were just visible. Without a word, Mom replaced my own earrings with simple red and black ones and added a gold necklace with a matching pendant around my neck. I heard the spritzer and immediately smelled the perfume. Do your lips, then join me in the kitchen and bring your nail kit, she instructed. How does she always know what to do? I took the lipstick from her, saw that little enigmatic smile of hers, and applied it to my lips. I went into my room and dug out my nail kit from under the bed. I had exactly 1 set of nails left and no more tape, just the glue. I looked in the mirror again and was still amazed at how effortlessly Mom had transformed me. It must be something girls are born with, I thought. I couldn't do it, at least not by myself. I told Mom I didn't have any more tapes, so she advised me to use the glue, assuring me she knew how to dissolve it when the time came to remove the nails. One by one, I fitted the nails, trimming them to size first, then using the glue to attach them. The polish I had was a soft plum color that Mom said was very nice. She watched as I painted each nail with 2 coats of polish. Mom never said a word the whole time I was doing my nails, and I ached to ask her a bunch of questions, like how she always knows everything. But I didn't. I just did what she told me to do. Now that we have you all dressed up, let's look in the mirror and see what kind of girl we have created. Mom and I stood side by side in front of the hall mirror, and the change was astonishing. Before, when I tried this myself, the best I could do was satisfy my desire to dress up. But now, there was a girl staring back at me. Not a boy in a dress, but a girl with beautifully done hair, flawless makeup, wide eyes with an impish grin, breasts that were just the right size, and long silky legs in high heels. I was speechless. "What do you call yourself?" Mom asked. "Vivien." It slipped out without a thought. It was the name Dave had given me. In the past, I had always thought of myself as Linda, but somehow Vivien felt right. Vivien, what a lovely name. Now tell me, have you ever left the house dressed as a girl? Hell sorry, Mom, no. I never looked good enough. What about now? Do you look good enough to go out now? Well, I'll get you a purse. I think I have an old wallet around here somewhere. I'll get those, you transfer your things into it, and we'll go for a ride, just to see how you do. Wait here. Within a few minutes, Mom returned with a purse, an old wallet of hers, and my own wallet, along with a lipstick and some tissue. I moved everything into the purse, and then Mom walked to the back door, held it open, and waited for me to gather the courage to step outside. It took a few moments, but I finally did it. The sun was bright, the air warm, and I was terrified. Mom and I got in the car, and she drove out of our neighborhood and onto the expressway. I knew exactly where we were going, Dad's office. There wasn't anything I could do to stop her, and yet, in a way, I didn't mind. If Dad didn't burst out laughing, then maybe I had a chance to pull this off. I knew as well as Mom did that after seeing my reflection in the hall mirror, I was going to be Dave's date for the ball. All I had to do was become the perfect girl in every way. Making me look like a girl was the easy part. Getting over my fear of discovery and letting Dad see me this way were going to be the hardest things for me to do. I didn't tell your father we were stopping by, so this is going to be a surprise. Just act natural and you'll be fine, Mom said. Natural. Mom, you have no idea how hard this is going to be. Oh, I think I do. But this has to be what you wanted, or else you would have quit dressing up long ago. And now that we both know just how pretty you are, there is no reason for you to be afraid. Watch how you walk and so on, smile a lot, and pretty soon it will all become natural. Okay. I'll try, Mom. I don't have much choice, do I? Of course you have a choice. I'll take you home right now and you can change, but if you do, this is the end of it. No more dressing up. Is that what you want? Or would you like to do this, just to see if you can? If I said to take me home, Mom would make sure I would never be able to try this again. But if I said I would try it, then she would know that I liked dressing as a girl so much that I was willing to risk everything by going out in public this way. She watched the road while I paused, then slowly nodded my head yes. Now there was no doubt in anyone's mind. I wanted to be a girl. Now that we have that settled, let's not dwell on anything but making you into a proper young lady. We will be at your father's office in time for lunch, so we'll make him take us to lunch. That way, he will be able to see for himself just how nice-looking you are. That'll be great, Mother. I knew you would agree. My mother has a remarkable ability to ignore almost anything, including my frequent sarcasm. She parked the car, and I gazed up at the towering office building where Dad worked. 40 floors of polished glass and bright aluminum gleamed in the sunlight. I would have to walk in, cross the lobby, and take an elevator up 38 floors. Anyone could get on that elevator. Mom, however, didn't hesitate. She strode across the parking lot, pausing only once to look back at me as I lagged behind. Rather than facing all those people alone, I caught up with her just as she opened the door to the building. The lobby was bustling with people, but they went about their business, and we made it to the elevators without incident. The ride up, however, was interesting. On the 6th floor, a guy about my age got on and kept his eyes locked on me all the way to the 22nd floor, where he got off. Mom merely snickered. When we reached our floor, my stomach began to churn, but I followed Mom into the office and then to Dad's private office. "Hello, Heather, is he available?" Mom asked Dad's receptionist. Heather smiled at us and then called Dad before letting us into his office. Mom went in first, and I stepped inside, with Heather shutting the door behind us. Dad smiled at Mom, but when he looked at me, his eyes narrowed before he smiled again. I was sure I was done for. "Hi, Bridget. Who is this?" Dad asked, his voice giving nothing away. "This is Vivien. David asked her to be his date for the induction ball, and we thought that you should meet her since she will be staying with us for a while," Mom explained. That's when Dad figured it out. I could tell by the way his eyes widened in realization. "I see. Care to tell me why you're doing this for Dave? I mean, dressing as a girl? Are you sure about this? Do you know how hard that's going to be? And why did he ask you to do this? How would he know that you would even consider it?" Dad questioned. "Mom saved the day for me. Vivien has been with us for a very long time, dear. I knew about her, and that was enough. You didn't need to know, so we didn't tell you. David has been her friend almost since birth, which is why he knew that Vivien might be available to do this for him. All we are here for today is to let you meet her and take us to lunch." "What if I say no to this nonsense?" Dad challenged. "Then I will remind you that you spent several weeks as a girl, and it didn't seem to hurt you any. As a matter of fact, I recall you telling me that you kind of liked the way the clothes felt, all that nylon and satin. Vivien likes it too, and I have agreed that she can stay for a while. Now let's go. I'm hungry. Mom had neatly cornered Dad when she mentioned that even he enjoyed the feel of Satan now and then. It was clear he was uncomfortable with me dressed as a girl, but he grudgingly accepted it. I knew this when he took my arm as we walked out of his office and told Heather, "I'm taking Bridget and our daughter to lunch. I'll be about an hour." Daughter. He referred to me as his daughter. I thought it was great, until I realized there was no other way he could introduce me without causing ridicule. So much for that. Lunch was pleasant, though Dad had a lot of questions for me, which I answered honestly. When he asked how long this had been going on, I glanced at Mom, took a deep breath, and said, "Since I was little. Maybe 5 or 6, I guess." That's when he laid down the law. "I guess, since you say you've been doing this for so long, I can let you do this. But as soon as David is inducted, you're back in pants. Are we clear on that?" "Yes, sir. It's clear, sir." "Okay then. Your mother will help you get whatever it is that you need, within reason, of course. 2 weeks as a girl isn't that long, so I suppose we can all get through this all right." "Honey," Mom interjected, 2 weeks is all she has off for spring break. The induction is a few weeks after that, so she will be with us for at least 3 weeks, maybe a month." "But what about school? She can't miss that much school," Dad exclaimed. Already he was referring to me as she. It was a good sign. "Vivien," Mom said, "can join co-op. That way, she will get all of her schoolwork by email, which is how it will be turned in. That way, she can remain with us until this is all over. But to join co-op, she needs to have a job," Dad argued. "Don't you do the hiring?" Mom countered. Dad was clearly at a loss. If he hired me into the co-op program, he would be responsible for me, and it would be hard for him to simply fire me so I could go back to school as Vincent. He would have to explain to his bosses why he hired someone so incompetent in the first place, and that would reflect on his managerial abilities. But Mom had pushed him into a corner. His only way out was to either agree or send me home to change. "But that would mean at least 3 months, Dad protested. "Well, maybe, but then it would be over, wouldn't it? I mean, Vivien will have graduated by then, and it won't matter, will it?" Mom reasoned. Dad looked at me with his steely grey eyes, then shrugged and agreed to let me continue for as long as it took. Mom had cleverly made the deadline flexible. I would become Vivien for at least a month, maybe more if I continued until school let out, just to maintain the legitimacy of Dad's hiring practices. He sat up straight and told me I had until school started to get ready, as I would be working for his company starting on the 3rd Monday, as a girl, no matter how I looked. It wasn't ideal, but it was better than having him make me quit altogether. I nodded in agreement. Mom and I left Dad to pay the bill. As we drove home, she asked me what I was using for breast forms. I told her and she laughed. When we got home, she told me to touch up my lipstick and then call David. She thought it would be better if he saw me now, rather than being surprised later. I made the call and got his mother, who recognized my voice and told me Dave was in the shower and that I should come over. I told Mom I was leaving, grabbed my purse, and left by the back door. I walked along the path to his house and rang the bell. When his mother opened the door, she looked surprised, but quickly figured out who I was. "Come in, my dear. You must be Vivien. Did you know that you're all David has talked about since he met you? Now I can see why. You're very pretty, my dear. Come join me for a soft drink while the big guy cleans up." It wasn't the reaction I had expected, but I accepted her offer of a soft drink and joined her on the patio. "David tells me that you were going to be his date at the induction ball. Are you comfortable with that?" she asked. "To tell you the truth, no. But Mom says I'll calm down in a few days, when the novelty of dressing as a girl every day wears off," I replied. "Maybe it will wear off, but I doubt that. I knew a boy like you when we were in high school. He even went so far as to show up in school dressed as a girl. They make him change clothes, but nobody ever saw him before or after school in anything but a skirt or dress. I think he went on to become a woman. He had the surgery, I'm sure of it. For you to be here like this tells me that you love it a lot more than you're willing to admit, which is why the thrill of it won't wear off easily." I wanted to believe that Dave's mother was right. I didn't want the thrill of dressing as a girl to go away, just the fear that always lingered like a cloud over my head. We chatted a bit more, and then Dave showed up. He was wearing his shortest shorts, a muscle tee, and sneakers. From a girl's perspective, he was a real hunk. I knew that with Dave by my side, not many people would try to hurt me. "Hi," Dave started to say, but his mother interrupted. "Dave, you recognize Vivien, don't you?" "Almost. The last time I saw her, she didn't look half this good," he said, sitting down next to me, his eyes never leaving my face. "I told you that with a little help, you would look spectacular, and I was right," he exclaimed. "That's because you're so tall that you look right over my head. The person you're looking at is your mother, you dummy," I joked. "Oh, she's beautiful too, but a little old for me. You, on the other hand, are just right," he replied with a grin. "Thanks, Dave, I think. I'll leave you kids alone. Just stay on the ground floor, David," his mother said as she left the room. I wondered why she insisted we stay downstairs, but then it hit me. Boy and girl, alone in a room, could spell trouble. But I wasn't a girl, so how much trouble could I really get into? That's what I told myself, right up until I felt Dave's hand on my leg and the gentle squeeze. I quickly moved across from him, but not before seeing the grin on his face. "Did you tell your dad yet, Vivien?" Dave asked. "Mom and I had lunch with him, and as it turns out, I'll be working for him in co-op as Vivien, at least until the end of the year." "That's a switch. How did you manage that?" he asked, surprised. "Mom said I would have all of spring break to be Vivien, but your induction ball is a few weeks after that, and rather than change back and forth, she maneuvered Dad into hiring me. That means he can't just fire me, so it looks like I'll become Vivien until school lets out anyway." "Did your mom tell you why she did that? I mean, she already has a daughter, so there's no real reason for her to push it, is there?" Dave asked, curious. "She didn't say, and I didn't ask." Dave had raised a very good question. Why was Mom letting me do this? I had expected her to laugh or get angry, but not actually help me. And when she stepped in and made it possible for me to remain this way for a few months, it really threw me. I had accepted it, but Dave's question lingered. Around 4, I went home. Dad was there, but he only said hi, and I went to help Mom make dinner. Dinner was uneventful, and after the dishes were done, I went to my room to change. I was washing my face when Mom came in and left a nightgown on the bed. It was one of my sister's short 2-piece sets. I asked her to stay, then went into the bathroom and slipped on the very thin panties and the top. I wrapped a robe around myself and sat on the bed. I had to know why Mom was leading the charge. Why had she made it possible for me to remain as a girl? "Mom, why are you doing this?" I'll admit that I like to dress up once in a while, but never in my wildest dreams did I expect you to set it up like you did. Dave and I both want to know. I mean, this isn't like you at all. Her expression remained unchanged as she looked at me, and I wondered if I had hit a nerve. I watched as she sat in my chair, drew herself upright, took a deep breath, and then she told me, "Your Aunt Leslie is like you, honey. She used to be my brother. All her life, she would wear my stuff, got caught a lot, and suffered when your grandpa tried to beat it out of him. When she was 18, she moved away, and we didn't see her for almost 3 years. When she did come home, she was a woman, just like she should have been in the first place." "Aunt Leslie used to be a man," I exclaimed, shocked. "That all happened before you were born, and there was no reason to tell anyone, especially you kids. After she got married to your Uncle Earl, they adopted your cousins. They do not know either, so I want you to keep that to yourself. When I told her about your dressing up, she and I talked about it for hours. When you were little, it didn't matter. Now that you are almost grown up, it does matter a lot. She has convinced me that if this is the road for you, then you should have the chance to experience being a female and all of the ups and downs that entail. If it isn't for you, well, after school lets out, you can return to being yourself and nobody will be the wiser. All I have done is give you about 4 months to be a girl. After that, you can decide. But for now, your father and I are willing to let you explore this facet of yourself, with some restrictions, of course. You will have to live by the same rules that June had to live with, the same types of chores, and also the same curfew. We are not going to tell you what to wear since girls your age wear almost everything, but for the first month, you must wear a skirt or dress, once in a while shorts, and that's it. Any questions? I had so many questions, but I was too shocked by what Mom had told me to remember them. My Aunt Leslie is a real knockout, and there isn't even the tiniest thing about her that remotely suggests she was ever a male. Nice boobs, wears about a size 9 or 10, she even sounds like a woman. And Uncle Earl, what about him? Does he know the truth? Then there were my cousins, Kelly and Megan. They are 10 and 12 now, and they always look real nice since Aunt Leslie insists on it. Mom just sat there while I digested all of what she had told me, and then, "You're wondering about your Uncle Earl. He knows, he always has." But Leslie captured his heart, and the two of them never looked back when they started going together. "Vivien, honey, if you decide to remain a girl, it will not change our feelings towards you. And if you meet someone who loves you more than life itself, grab him and make him yours, but never lie to him. Love him, care for him, and let him love you back. That is more important than anything else I can tell you. If you want to talk to Leslie, go over there in the morning and talk to her, but expect brutal honesty. She isn't going to hold anything back from you, and you should be honest with her." Okay, Mom. Thanks. I'll see her in the morning. I'll call in the morning and let her know. The next morning, I got up early, took a shower, shaved as closely as possible, and then got dressed. I decided to wear a skirt and blouse with my flats, fairly plain makeup, and simple jewelry. It took me about 45 minutes to get ready, and as I looked in the mirror, I was very happy with how I looked. I applied foundation and powder, brown eyeliner with very light plum eyeshadow, peach blusher, and plum lipstick. The skirt was navy, short and pleated, one of June's best. The blouse was a simple white pullover top. Mom and I had breakfast with Dad, who didn't say a word, and then, after he left, Mom gave me the keys to her car. It was my first time driving as Vivien, but the only thing that felt different was the ice-cold leather on my almost bare thighs. I pulled into the driveway and saw Aunt Leslie walk out onto the porch to greet me. I got out, and she saw me for the first time. We said hi, and then she took me by the hand out to her patio, where she had a carafe of coffee and some cups. "I didn't recognize you, Vivien. If Bridget hadn't called me, I would not have known. You look spectacular." "Thanks. Mom told me last night and said that I should talk to you." "Yes, I know. What I have to say isn't that complicated, Vivien. I knew from a very young age that I was a girl and spent over 20 years making that true. If what your mama tells me is true, then you are about to walk that same path, with this exception. You have a family that is willing to listen. I didn't have that. You also have me. Being a woman is not about what's on the outside, honey. If you know that you were meant to be a woman, then all you do is adjust the outside to match the inside. That's easy. What is harder is admitting to someone that you want to make a change in your life that is as severe as this one. Telling someone you love that you are not what they think you are can be dangerous. And unless you are honest with them almost from the beginning, well, that can turn ugly as well. Take Earl, for example. It took me 3 dates before I told him, and he quit calling me. In the end, I called him. Since then, we have cleared the air, and now we have a wonderful family. Do you have someone? The question caught me off guard, but Dave's face popped into my mind. Well, not really, but my friend Dave asked me to be his date for a big induction ball he has to attend, and he put his hand on my leg the other day. He hasn't tried to kiss me or anything like that, though. Leslie smiled at that, put her hand over mine, and squeezed. It's the first sign, honey. Your friend Dave is attracted to you, or he wouldn't have asked you out. Not really, I said, and explained why he asked me, including Dave's shyness and how he found out about me, which is why he asked me to be his date. When I finished, she didn't respond except to ask me what I used for boobs and hips. I told her, which made her laugh, and then she told me she had done the exact same thing. While I was waiting for the hormones to kick in and create my boobs for me, I bought a pair of very realistic breast forms. I wore them for months before I began to develop. I have them packed away in the basement somewhere if you want them. I also have a special kind of padded panty you can have, if I can find it. Care to help me look? It took us about an hour to find the items she mentioned, still in their original boxes. Leslie was watching my face when I opened the first box that held the breast forms, grinning as I drew in my breath. They looked absolutely real. Want to try them on? They should be your size. They're a fuller cup. Take off your top and let me help you. Leslie slipped one into each cup of my bra, and when I felt the weight of them, I began to grin. Then she showed me the adhesive, which had been tightly sealed long ago. She shook the bottle and told me it was still good, but I should wait and have Mom help me attach them. The panty was indeed special. If I had it on, it would look as if I were a real girl. It's non-functional except that you can pee while wearing it. I understand the newer ones will allow a person to have sex, but you're way too young for that right now, so it doesn't matter. I didn't put it on but took the box with me as we went back out on the patio. Aunt Leslie was adamant that I be true to myself and not be deterred by people who would never understand. She also told me to become as feminine as possible, including the way I speak. She advised me to sing along with girl singers and try to hit their notes if I could. She also told me to pay close attention to the way I use my hands, sit, walk, and so on. Then she demonstrated what I had done all morning and the way a girl would do it. It was very revealing, especially when she told me that she could take the average guy and make him look like a knockout girl, but she couldn't make him act like a girl if he didn't want it. We spent almost 2 hours out on the patio. The entire time was spent simply teaching me how to walk, roll my hips, and hold my arms in a manner that was comfortable as well as looked feminine. It was harder than I thought. Becoming a girl was starting to become hard work. I went home at 1, promising Aunt Leslie that I would practice as often as I could. I also told her I was going to use the adhesive to fix both breast forms as well as the panty in place. I know, was all she said, but we both knew that I wanted this more than I was saying. When Mom saw me, she wanted all the details, and unable to contain myself, I told her about the panty and the breast forms. I also told her I was on my way to my room to glue them on. She wasn't having any of that and insisted that she help me. It took about half an hour to get me all fixed up, but in the end, it was worth it. Standing there naked in front of the mirror was a girl from head to toe. Mom shook her head, but didn't say much except that it was now time for me to get my own bras and panties, plus a few clothes of my own. About 20 minutes later, she and I left for the mall. Now that you have all the right parts, it's time for you to experience buying your own bras and making sure they fit. That's important since wearing one 18 hours a day or more can make your shoulders ache if they don't fit properly. What came next was a fitting by a professional, then selecting 3 bras that met with Mom's approval. Panties, pantyhose, 2 skirts, and 2 dresses, plus 2 pairs of shoes were added to the pile. Mom paid the bill and we went home. With every step, I could feel the tug of my breasts against the shoulder straps and quickly understood what Mom meant. But I loved it. The bounce, the tug on my chest, and the tightness of the bra made me feel very feminine. On the way out, Mom told me that on Saturday morning, she and I were headed back to the salon. She was going to have my upper lip, eyebrows, arms, and legs waxed. It will be painful for sure, but you should have this done if you intend to remain as a girl. And given that the glue we used on you lasts 2 months, we might as well do it now as later. Don't shave anything but your face from now until then, Vivien. It'll make it easier for everyone. As soon as we got home, I tried on one of the new dresses and had just zipped it up when Mom told me Dave was there. The dress I had on had 2 straps to hold it up, my budding cleavage just visible, the hem at mid-thigh. I put on new lipstick, a dash of perfume, and went downstairs, turning at the bottom fast enough to cause my skirt to flare out and let Dave see my panties. Mom gave me a dirty look, but my eyes were on Dave and his reaction when he saw me. His eyes lit up, and a grin split his face. "Hi," he said. "Hi, Vivien. Listen, I was going to walk over to the park and wondered if you might want to come along. You don't have to if you don't. I'd like that, I said and opened the front door. Without a word, Dave took my hand in his, and we left the house. I let him take my hand because we both wanted it. I needed Dave to help me understand myself, and he needed me to be his girlfriend, maybe. I had no idea if he was even attracted to me. We got to the park, walked around for a bit, then went on the swings. I was on the swing when I felt him push me. My skirt flared up again, but my knees were locked together, and he was behind me. Then I felt his hand on my butt as he pushed me really high. I went up, then down and back up. He moved in front of me, jerked the swing to a stop, and I fell into his arms. All at once, his lips were on mine, then my mouth opened, and my arms were around his neck. Swapping spit, it's called, and he seemed to be really good at it. His hand held me close as he kissed me, and I could feel a strange hardness on my leg. I had Dave on fire. I broke away. We shouldn't be doing that, Dave. What's the problem? Me boy, you girl. Listen, Tarzan, I said as I moved away, you boy, yes. Me girl, no, me boy also. You look like a very sexy girl to me, he said as he grabbed my hand and yanked me close to him. You know, boy. You girl that turns Tarzan on like a light bulb. His lips on mine silenced me, and on the inside, I loved the attention, but I was worried. Not worried enough to quit, just worried that I had gotten more than I bargained for. Becoming a girl in my dreams did not include Dave, yet here I was. I ran away, then began to walk back home. He caught up with me, walking me home. At my door, all he said was, "You girl now. Me your Tarzan." I went in while Dave went home. The minute I walked in the house, I heard a squeal. That could only be June. I turned to face her, smiling my best smile. "Holy cow, you look great," she exclaimed. "June, this is Vivien. She's the one that's been raiding your closet all those years," Mom said. June looked me over, saw my boobs and hips, and asked the obvious question, which was more of a statement. "You got tits." "June, I look just like you do," I replied. "Huh." What Vivien means, Mom interjected, is that she could join you in the shower with all the other girls, and nobody would ever know that she is not a girl. "What, you have you and whoever that was could," June stammered. I nodded my head yes and went to the mirror. I didn't have any lipstick on now. Dave had taken it all. Mom didn't explain a thing, and I went to my room to touch up my lipstick. June was right on my heels, insisting that I show her. To jerk her chain a bit, I told her we could play show and tell. June didn't hesitate. Her skirt hit the floor with her blouse right after that, so I unzipped the dress and pulled it off. Now we were back to even. Her bra came loose, and as she dangled it in front of me, I saw my sister's breasts for the first time. She had what the guys would call a nice rack. I unhooked my bra and held it out so she could see. That made her suck in her breath a bit. Then she used her thumbs to yank down her pantyhose and panties with a single jerk, and not to be outdone, I did the same thing. We stood looking at each other for a moment before we both started laughing. As we got dressed, June told me she always knew that I would end up as a girl. Then she wanted to know all about Dave, especially if he was a good kisser. As we got dressed, I told her everything, and she gave me free run of her closet. She was only home for a few days before she had to go back to school. She also told me she was thinking of joining the Navy, but asked me to keep that secret for now. June and I bonded like we never had before, and I felt as if a great weight had been lifted from my shoulders. I'm not sure why I felt that way, but June and I both felt as if we had been sisters all along. I could tell by the look on her face. As her little sister, she told me she was determined to make sure I turned out to be a real lady. We both touched up our makeup, then went down to help Mom in the kitchen. Dad was elated to see June, of course, and gave us both a hug before we sat down to dinner. Casually, almost as an afterthought, June mentioned that she and I were going to go through her closet the next day, and whatever I could wear, she was going to let me have. Mom probably figured that would happen, but Dad just grumbled a bit until Mom mentioned the cost of a new wardrobe. That's when Dad said he thought this wasn't going to last forever. I knew, ever since I attached the breast forms and panty to me, that I wouldn't be able to just give this up so easily. Mom knew it, and June figured it out. Nobody had told Dad yet because he didn't need to know right then, but I saw June wink at me. Later, after we did the dishes, June took me to her room and gave me one of her baby doll nightgowns, the pale yellow one. The panty just covers the essentials, Vivien, and the top is made to cover your nipples, but not much else. I'll wear the blue one, she said. Well, we both changed in her room, and I have to tell you, wearing so little material for a panty was really different. June gave me the yellow robe to match my outfit, and the two of us went down to the family room together. Dad looked up and almost choked when he saw us standing there. As we planned it, we both went to him, each of us on one knee, and kissed him all over, leaving fresh lipstick prints all over his face. "What's the matter, Daddy?" June asked in that little girl voice she uses. We both saw Dad give up. He looked at June, then at me, and didn't see any difference. It was clear, unless he suddenly went blind, that I had breasts, and my manhood was now gone. He desperately wanted to ask, but held his tongue while June and I settled on the couch, holding hands. Mom didn't say a word. In the morning, June and I spent hours in her room with me trying on clothes. The pile for my closet grew larger as June handed me one thing after another until her closet was almost empty. When I mentioned it, she told me she had made up her mind. She was going into the Navy. They had offered to pay the rest of her way through law school for an 8-year commitment. For her, it was an easy choice. For me, I gained a wardrobe and became as close to June as I ever hoped to be. I had wanted to do this for years with her, but lacked the nerve to tell her how I felt. Now, it didn't matter. June and I tried different hairstyles and looks on me. The worst was when we appeared for lunch. My hair was in 2 small dog-ear-style tails, rolled over and held with a rubber band. My makeup was very bright, and I wore her short bib overalls with a skimpy tee underneath. I looked like a 12-year-old, but it was a fun day, and Mom just let us carry on alone. Of course, June wanted to know, once again, how good a kisser Dave was. In my limited experience, I told her he was wonderful, which was true as far as I was concerned. He had made my knees shake after all. June left that afternoon, and I missed her as soon as she was gone. Mom asked me if I would remove my male clothes and hang up the others, which I spent most of the day doing. Dave stopped by, but we didn't go anywhere. I wasn't sure I could trust either of us. He stayed until dinner and then went home. Mom told me to get up early, as my appointment was the first one. Have you ever seen anyone skin an animal? That's what it felt like when the esthetician ripped that wax off my leg the first time. There wasn't much blood, just a lot of grunting from the pain. Time after time, she moved up and down each leg, then each arm, and finally, she did my face. After I returned to the chair, when my fingers finally let go of the ceiling, she put a very hot cloth on my face, legs, and arms. She said it would reduce the swelling. Then came a mud pack, followed by getting my hair cut and styled, and my nails done in acrylics by a pro. Lastly, someone did my makeup. Watching in the mirror, I was astonished at how easy she made it look. I never looked this good. Mom also had her hair and nails done, then we went dress shopping. According to her, a girl's first special event dress is special, and a hand-me-down simply wouldn't do. That was fine with me. Our first stop, however, was not at a dress shop, but a lingerie shop. Mom said I needed a bit of help with my waistline, and that's when I was introduced to the joys of corselets. I use the term joy in a derisive manner since it pulled my waist down to an unimaginable size, while pushing my fat all over the place up to my boobs, down to my hips, and whatever was left simply pushed inside. My back was forced straighter, bending over was a pain, yet as both Mom and the woman in the store grinned at me, I could see for myself just how much better my shape was. All I had to do was learn how to breathe all over again. The woman said I had a 36 to 23-35 figure, which according to her, was perfect for a girl my size. When they decided that it was the right size, I headed for the booth to take it off but was told to leave it on. Just how can we fit the dress if you don't have it on, honey? Just get dressed. Then we'll finish our shopping. That's how it was. I wore that corselet out of the store, still getting used to the constriction. My bra was in my purse since I had no need for it now. Mom and I wandered around, looking here and there, not finding what either of us would consider the right dress. Then we walked into Cindy's. All the stores sold were prom and wedding dresses. We went our separate ways, each of us looking for the dress, and I found it. The dress was floor-length, empire-waisted with a square-cut neckline, and a sheer skirt of black chiffon lay over the satin underskirt. The minute I tried it on, Mom and I both knew that we had found it. Dad would have a cow when he next saw me anyway, but wearing this dress, well, hopefully I would leave him speechless. From the dress shop, we went to find shoes, a handbag and jewelry. It took us almost all day. My hair had been cut shorter, blow-dried, and brushed to a very feminine curly style. My makeup, done by the salon, was perfect. It wasn't until we got home that I was able to try on the entire outfit to see how I looked. Mom helped me get the dress on. I slipped my feet into the shoes, added the jewelry, and stood in front of the mirror. The dress was the epitome of feminine style and left no doubt that the person inside of it was a girl. The straps holding on the high-heeled sandals gave my feet a sexy yet demure look. The pale pink lipstick, some perfume, small silver and black earrings, and nothing else completed how I looked. To say I was shocked when I looked in the mirror would be an understatement, yet I was also excited. My breasts pushed out on the thin material while my hips gave me shape. The dress merely accentuated the way I looked. We both heard the front door open. Dad was home. "Shall we show him your outfit?" Mom asked. I just knew that Dad would have a strong reaction, regardless of the fact that he had grudgingly bought into this. Having my hair, makeup and nails done, after he had seen me virtually naked in that skimpy yellow baby doll, and now this, well, I wasn't sure how he would react. Hell, I was still in shock that I turned out this way myself. I walked behind Mom, carefully holding my dress up as I went down the stairs. Then, as I walked into the family room, there he was, just standing up. I made a sound, he turned around, and our eyes locked. If ever there was a moment when I wondered about Dad's acceptance of me as a girl, this had to be it. Everything else aside, and regardless of what had been said, now he could see the finished product of my desire, Aunt Leslie's and Mom's help. I was as complete a girl as I was going to get. "What do you think?" Mom said. "Isn't she beautiful?" Dad's eyes, wide in surprise, looked me over carefully before he spoke. He could see the new nails, the new hairstyle, my now hairless arms, cleavage that threatened to overflow the dress, and my subtle smile. "You know, when this all started, it was because Dave needed a date for that dance, and I let you convince me that Vincent could be his date. Given that we all knew you liked to dress up once in a while, I figured, what the hell? You could get it out of your system, and things would get back to normal. Then you and June pulled that stunt last night, trying to provoke me with those Barbie doll nightgowns. Now I see that you have new nails, your hair has been cut and styled, you have more boobs than your mother, and a figure that is unbelievable on a boy. This is no lark and never has been. At first, I told you that you would have new rules, just to see how you would react, but I let you and your mother go ahead. Since then, you have begun to walk, act, and even sound like a girl. No boy could do that unless it was what he really wanted to. Just look at yourself. There isn't a boy your age in this city who wouldn't be proud to have you on his arm. I agree with those convoluted reasons of your mother's about you needing to remain in dresses, but it wasn't for the reasons you both think. I talked to Leslie. I know that she knows what she is talking about, and according to her, Vivien is here to stay regardless of what I want. She told me that since you had been dressing up from a very young age, there was probably no way to stop you. She asked me if I wanted you to run away and do this on your own, or have your mother make a lady out of you, just like she did for June. He didn't move, and neither did I. Mom stayed at my side as we all thought about what he had said. Then, "So," Dad said, "since I probably can't stop you, and looking the way you do, I'm going to give in to the obvious, but so are you." From now on, you will be our daughter, Vivien Pamela, and after a suitable time period, we will see if you want to continue as a girl or not. If you do, then Leslie has agreed to help us, all of us, with the transition. By the way, you look spectacular, Vivien." I went to him and hugged him as tight as I could, my tears making my mascara and eyeliner run down my cheeks. Dad held me close, his arms around me tight. Then, as we both realized what had just happened, I kissed him on the cheek. "Thank you, Daddy," I said, then ran up to my room, Mom right behind me. With Mom's help, I took the clothes off, but not the corselet since Mom told me I should wear it to break it in. That was going to be a contest. Either I would break or it would. I wore a skirt and top, helped Mom make dinner, then sat next to Dad that night, his arm around my shoulder. Neither of us spoke, yet I could feel his strength flowing from him to me. I loved it. In the morning, I tried to redo my hair and managed okay, but I slipped on clean panties, a pair of shorts, and a top without a bra, and went to the kitchen, where I got blasted by Mom. In no uncertain terms, she told me to go put a bra on and never to leave my room unless I was dressed. She didn't need to explain. I got the message. I was back in a few minutes. After some coffee and cereal, she laced me back into the corselet, and I knew that I would have to endure it for as long as Mom said so. Dave stopped by, took one look at me, and broke out into a wide grin. I knew what was on his evil little mind. How could I not know? It was written all over his face. He and I took a walk, heading for the park again. "I bought my dress yesterday," I said. "Yeah, I figured." I called and got no answer. "I figured you and your mom were out somewhere. You got your hair cut too. Like it?" "Yeah, I do," he said as he took my hand. I was no longer afraid of holding his hand, since I was a girl after all, and who could say otherwise? As we walked up the path to the park, a couple of girls walked ahead of us. I recognized both of them, Peggy and Stacy. Peggy is short with brown hair. Stacy is skinny as a rail, blonde, and a pain in the ass. Peggy is easier going. Dave and I took the trail to the left, leaving Peggy and Stacy as they took the path to the right. He and I went down by the lake and sat on the grass, watching the fish bob up for the occasional bug, some swimmers across the way, and a man in a canoe paddling towards the creek. I felt his hand as he rubbed my back, then he pulled me to him and kissed me. Not gently, not a whisper of a kiss like the first time, but passionate, long, and hard, just at that moment. Ahem. Dave and I looked up to see Stacy and Peggy standing there. "It looks like you have gotten over your fear of girls, David. Who's this?" Stacy asked, a smirk on her face. We both jumped up and faced them. I hoped Dave was smart enough to be cool. "This is Vivien." Vivien, Peggy, and Stacy, Dave introduced us. We all nodded at each other. Then Stacy said that she thought I looked familiar. It was all I could do to not say anything that would let them know who I really was. Then I had an idea. "I'm related to Vincent and June. Do you know them?" I asked. "Yeah," Stacy said, "I know them. How come we've never seen you before?" "I just arrived, last week as a matter of fact. Dave and I met, and well, we hit it off," I explained. "We can see that," Peggy said with a smile. "Come on, David, we have to get back. I have an appointment. Nice meeting you, bye," Stacy said, tugging on Dave's arm. I waved at them as Dave and I walked hand in hand back towards my house. I wasn't nervous about my ability to be a girl, not anymore. It was all about what would happen if they found out where I lived. Both Peggy and Stacy could add that up and come to a conclusion all on their own. But, as fate would have it, that never happened. The ball was just a month away now, and I found myself becoming more and more like a girl in so many subtle ways. Mom noticed that the way I was talking began to take on a slight uplift in my voice, like so many girls my age. My walk now felt natural, and I didn't have to work at it to get that up and down, back and forth motion anymore. I think it was that special panty myself, and my hand gestures became less rigid, more flexible. For some reason, I never noticed any of it. It just happened. I spent some time with Aunt Leslie and learned a lot more. The minute she saw me, She told me she knew that my days as a boy were over. She said girl was written all over me, inside and out. Then she wanted a detailed discussion about Dave and me, including what he and I had done together. She wanted the dirt, in other words, but there wasn't any according to me. But she thought otherwise. Just the fact that I had kissed Dave, she said, was her best indicator that I wasn't going to be a boy anymore. Then she went on to talk about hormones, surgery, and so on. It was a very interesting day, that's for sure, but I had no thought about surgery. Having my own boobs maybe, but surgery? Not yet anyway. Aunt Leslie wasn't judgmental, since she had gone through the same thing not that long ago herself, but she did caution me against jumping into things quickly. It sounded reasonable to me. June came home for a long weekend, which is when she told our parents she had joined the Navy. Dad didn't like that one bit, but he liked to watch a show on television about Navy lawyers and finally gave his assent. Mom thought it was a great career move on June's part. Well, I thought that she should do what she wanted to. I showed her my dress, and with Mom, we went out for the day. June was in a pensive mood, but got over that when she and Mom decided that I needed to get a pair of very special panties to wear with my dress. What they selected wasn't much more than a bundle of strings and a small triangle. I refused them but agreed on a pair that wasn't much larger. At least they had some material on my butt. Dave asked me out for my first real date on Saturday, and I spent extra time getting ready. June and Mom thought it was funny. I thought it was critical. I wore a skirt and blouse, my best bra and flats. My makeup, hair, and lipstick were perfect, my perfume just right. Dave was on time, and with Dad watching, I took Dave's hand and we left. He took me to the show. I can't even remember which one now, but it doesn't matter. What matters is what happened after the show. He parked his car by the lake, and nature took over. In my quest to become a girl, and all the work I've put towards it must have worn out my brain. After a bit of kissing, his hand fell on my leg, and I did not remove it like I was supposed to. That led him to go farther, to the point that his hand touched my panty. I saw his eyes go wide just before we put my hand on his member. In my lust, I did not take it away. For the first time in my life, I was touching another man's privates, and I liked it. Slowly, I began to move my hand up and down. Then, all at once, Dave went stiff, and I knew that he had made a mess. I was unsatisfied, but unwilling to do either of my two options. I make him take me home. I lay in bed that night, scared that I had done something terrible, something that would make me into what Mom called a bad girl or worse. I was up early, wrapped in a robe, and met June on her way to get some coffee. Unable to hold it in any longer, I dragged her into Dad's office and let it all out. June listened quietly, then put her arm around my shoulder and told me that she had done that in 9th grade, and when she was my age, more, with her boyfriend at the time. It doesn't make you bad, Vivien. It makes you a willing partner. Ask yourself this question: is Dave handsome? And does he turn you on, yes or no? Well, yes, I guess so. You obviously turn him on, and as long as you don't get really stupid and get pregnant, never mind that part, you know what I mean. But there are a lot of ways to make your guy happy. Use one of them if you have to. It's not as bad as you might think, and keep in mind that many girls that I know take care of their guys that way. Who knows? You might like it. What are you girls hiding in here for? Mom asked, poking her head into the office. Nothing, Mom, just talking. It's fine, June reassured her. Come have some breakfast, Mom said, and we went with her. June left that night, and the next biggest issue for us was my joining co-op without missing any school. Mom wanted to use subterfuge, but Dad said no. He made it clear that we were all going to the school and meet this head-on. We could not change his mind, and visions of being hung in the town square came to mind. It did not take a genius to figure out that I had to be perfect in every way if we were going to the school, and the next morning I prepared carefully. I wore a short dress with a flaring hemline that was at mid-thigh on me. I figured that by showing enough leg might help, and besides, many of the girls in school wore them. I would fit in. I had my books in a sack, my purse over one shoulder, and my nerve held in check when the three of us left for the school. In other words, I was scared to death. Dad marched into the school like he owned the place and went straight to the office. Mrs. Perry, the secretary, was there, and Dad asked her about enrolling me into the co-op program. When she asked my name, Dad didn't even hesitate. He gave her my male name, which stopped her in her tracks. "I'll get Mr. Dyers. Wait a moment, please." The principal walked out, took one look at me, then my parents before he spoke. "I understand you would like to enroll your daughter in the co-op program, but Mrs. Perry says that you gave her the name of a boy. Would you like to clarify that for me, please? Our son told us he wanted to be a girl, and we have let him do just that. This is Vivien. She will work for me in my office and take her coursework via email, which is how you do things, I understand. All we are asking is that you allow her to join the program. If she attends school, I'm not sure that you can guarantee her safety. Well, I can do just that." "I see," Mr. Dyers said, then turned to me. "Just what is your grade point, Vivien?" "I'm second in my class, sir. My grade point is 3.98. "In that case, and given the circumstances, I think we can allow you to join co-op, but there is the question of your name. I can change it now if you like. If you continue as a girl and keep up your grades, you will certainly end up on the podium at graduation. I would hate to call you up, say your given name, and have you look like you do now. Shall we do that for you?" "Go ahead and change her name," Dad said. "We'll take care of a legal name change later this week. That way you'll be within your rights." "Okay." "Thank you, sir, and good luck, Vivien," Mr. Dyers replied. As we walked out of the school, I never felt better. It was as if a huge weight had been lifted from my shoulders, and after that scare I had when we walked in, it was great. And then there was what Dad had said. He was changing my name legally. From now on, I would be Vivien Pamela. We took Mom home, then Dad and I went to his office. I was hired in, which took a few hours, then I was assigned as a glorified gopher in the accounting department. I worked for Winston, a slightly balding guy who treated everyone that worked for him as a genuine asset, and that meant everyone, including me. As a former financial planner, he had been hired away from his former company by the headhunters. He was truly a whiz at numbers, and I never saw anyone win a dispute with him. I liked him a lot. Time seemed to fly by as I worked 4 hours a day, then did schoolwork for 4 hours a day. I also got a first-hand look at how women in general react around men when they flirt with us, walking in heels hours on end, and having to meet the dress code, which mandated suits or a dress with a jacket, possibly a skirt, blouse, and jacket combination. It was wonderful and tiring at the same time. 2 days before the induction ball, Mom and I once again tried the entire outfit on. Having worn that corselet every day for almost a month now, I had developed a somewhat smaller waist anyway, but could not talk Mom into letting me not wear it. On the day of the ball, she and I went to the salon, and I got the works: hair, nails, mud pack, rub down, sauna, eyebrow trim, and once again the waxing. After having been plucked, boiled, beaten, then colored and painted, I looked in the mirror. Never had I looked this good. The artisans in the salon had turned me into a real princess. My once dishwater blonde hair was now strawberry blonde, my skin glowed, and my makeup was perfect. By the time Dave showed up to get me, Mom had helped me get dressed, and as I stood there, my mind wandered back to the moment when Dave first saw me. The change was day and night. Mom handed me a small box. Opening it, I found a small diamond ring. "It's from your father and me, honey. Put it on." The ring looked as if it were made for me. "Have a nice time tonight, honey. You look so beautiful that I'm having a hard time remembering what you looked like before." Mom hugged me, then told me to wait until she called me. It didn't take long. I heard my name, grabbed my handbag, and walked slowly down the stairs, just like Mom told me to do, and saw Dave and Dad standing there watching me. Both of them were smiling as I descended the stairs to end up right in front of Dad. He took pictures, of course, then Dave and I were off. It was a wonderful party, and Dave was very handsome in his tuxedo. I sat next to his mother, who was beaming as Dave accepted his nomination and entry. But twice I saw her looking at me, smiling both times. Later, on the way home, Dave wanted to repeat our lustful interlude, but I didn't, and managed to get him to take me home. He and I dated for about 2 more months, then our relationship died a natural death. I graduated, and just like the principal warned me, I sat on the podium, then had to speak. I kept it short, but talked about traveling through life, accepting everything that comes our way, and also being true to ourselves. I worked in Dad's office, was promoted twice, and now work as the assistant to Winston. It's like having a pseudo-father nearby all the time. Winston watches me like a hawk, or a father, I guess. One day, as I was leaving the office, I bumped into someone literally. My heels slipped on the polished floor, and I would have fallen if not for the strong arms that caught me. I looked up into the most striking pair of blue eyes I have ever seen. "Are you okay?" the stranger asked, his voice deep and concerned. "Yes, thank you," I replied, straightening up and smoothing my skirt. "I'm Vivien." "Oscar," he said with a smile. "I work on the 7th floor. I've seen you around, but we've never officially met." "Nice to meet you, Oscar," I said, returning his smile. There was something about him that made my heart flutter. Over the next few weeks, Oscar and I ran into each other more frequently. He would always stop to chat, and I found myself looking forward to our brief encounters. One day, he asked if I would like to have lunch with him. I accepted, and we spent the hour talking and laughing like old friends. It was the start of something beautiful. As the weeks turned into months, Oscar and I grew closer. He was kind, attentive, and made me feel special in a way that Dave never had. I found myself falling for him, and it seemed like he felt the same way. One evening, after a particularly wonderful date, Oscar took my hand as we walked along the river. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the water. "Vivien," he said softly, "I've been wanting to tell you something for a while now." My heart raced. "What is it, Oscar?" He stopped walking and turned to face me, his eyes filled with sincerity. "I'm falling in love with you. I know it might seem fast, but I can't help how I feel. You're amazing, and I want to be with you." Tears welled up in my eyes. "Oscar, I feel the same way. I've been so happy with you, and I can't imagine my life without you now." He leaned in and kissed me, a gentle, loving kiss that promised a future together. In that moment, I knew that all the struggles and fears I had faced were worth it. I had found someone who loved me for who I was, and I couldn't be happier. Life has turned out to be just great, and after I faced my fears, it turned out to be the best thing I ever did for myself. I'm glad Dave caught me that day, or I might still be fumbling around in a closet somewhere. But now, with Oscar by my side, I know that I've found my true happiness.